Hello everyone, welcome to my Land Rover repair video. Today I'm going to be showing you how I fix my rear window actuators on both the passenger doors. Basically what happens is there's a wheel inside of a track that pushes the actuator back and forth as the window goes up and down, and that wheel breaks off. So go ahead and start by taking off your door panels if you haven't done that already. I don't really want to get into that a whole lot. So as you can see, I've already taken apart mine. You can find a video hopefully on how to do this safely without breaking anything. So as you can see, here is my actuator missing the wheel. So this is the stud that we're going to have to remove later on. A couple things I went ahead and grabbed is a sliding closet door wheel. Like I said, this is just a homebrew video that I'm putting together. Here are some nuts and bolts that I went ahead and grabbed. If you don't have, nuts and bolts, go ahead and dig through your box of mountain bike hardware, or take apart your rollerblade. Whatever you got to do to find these things. You can purchase them at Home Depot or your hardware store. It's a furniture nut is what I showed originally, and that's basically what these kind of resemble too. So you're going to need some Loctite for this as well. Now if you don't have Loctite, it's essential that you have it because it's very important. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and remove this stud. So this is what you need to basically drill out. And let me show you real fast at the closet wheel. And it's almost a perfect match. There's some sanding involved later on, but as you can see, it's going to fit on there beautifully. I mean, like I said, this is just a homebrew video. Put together this in just a few hours, went to the store, said this is what I need, basically pinching my pennies. This is the end result. So as you can see, once you have it on there, it actually fits in that track quite well, and works to this day. And it's been about almost 9 months, possibly even 10, and I haven't had a single issue with it. So let's go ahead and grab some hardware. Drill bit, basically drill out a pilot hole for a larger drill bit to knock out that stud. I'm going to go ahead and use my scratch off. If you have a punch at this point, punch definitely is going to work much better. I don't actually have one laying around. Like I said, again, I just put this video together really fast. I just wanted to get it fixed. It only took me just, over 3 hours probably to do this. So every once in a while I need a little assistance, so I'm going to grab my little pliers here and just go ahead and position that. Little tap of the hammer, and you should be good to go. And again, you want to use a small drill bit, and then basically that's going to allow you to get a bigger drill bit in there without it walking side to side. So once you have that done, basically you can go ahead and start removing that stud. Now sometimes when you're making these little tutorial videos, sometimes you need a really big knife just to prop up your little camera ever so slightly. But if you don't have one, yeah, just go ahead and go back to what you're doing. It's always really annoying when you're just working on something and your drill bit just falls out for no reason. And again, I don't have a punch, so I'm just going to make something up real fast. Grab a little long bolt here and just knock that sucker out. Boom. Okay, so now that's done. It's important to find the right drill bit that's going to match up with the outside diameter of that furniture nut you found in your local hardware store. And again, make sure that the head or the top of that is going to fit in that wheel. Because if it doesn't, if it's too big, like in this video, you can see how big that outside diameter of the stud actually is on the top. But the inside diameter is going to work. So like I said, I'm going to go ahead and match that up with a drill bit, make sure that fits nice and good. Now I didn't actually use this stud that I actually showed in it right here. I actually used one from my rollerblade. And again, I don't actually know the name of those. I apologize. This is just something I went and grabbed. I have some stuff that was just laying around. So once that's done, you can go ahead and cut your wheel off. And again, make sure that that stud is going to fit on the inside of your little closet door wheel, just like the original, because if it doesn't, then it's going to stick out and it's going to prevent that wheel from sliding back and forth in the track. So it's going to sit recessed down inside that plastic wheel, just like the stud is. Now on the other side, it doesn't really matter if that's gonna, stick out a little bit, like if you have a nut or a bolt, sticking out the other side of the actuator, just as long as it's not on the inside of the wheel facing the track. And we're gonna go ahead and drill this, little wheel out real fast to match the furniture nut, so we can slide it right in there. I just want to point out something real fast. This video is only going to work for rear windows. It is not going to work for front. And again, that's because that the front windows are designed completely different. And you can see when I put that nut in there, it fits in there perfectly. It's almost nice and flush. And like I said, when that sets recessed down in the wheel, it's going to be nice and flush too, and it's not going to stick out, once that wheel's on there, like this right here. So it's actually backwards, but if I reverse that, the nut can actually stick out a little bit on the opposite side of this. And it doesn't matter because there's nothing, back there. The track is, the opposite side where my finger is. So long as you don't have anything sticking inside the track, it's going to work. And the front windows don't have that ability because it's like a scissor jack. They're going to crisscross and actually hit each other. Now with that wheel removed from the original hardware, as you can see, it doesn't actually fit in there. That's the sanding I referred to earlier. So basically we just need to sand down, the face of that just a little bit, and it'll pop right in there. So I'm going to use some 80 grit sandpaper, and I actually had to try several different ones, as you can see. And then once I got it just right, I was able to get it to slide back and forth. And with a little more work, I sanded it just, a tad bit more until it moves freely. So right now it's kind of stiff. So, you want to get it moving freely to a point where it just almost, rolls back and forth, because that's what you want. You want the ability to actually roll. And there we go. See, that fits much better. So like I said, just sand that a little bit and it'll pop right in there. Now these wheels are very fragile. Earlier I made this seem like it was real easy, so I just want to point out, if you're going to try this, these wheels will actually crack if you drill holes through them or put them in that vise too tight, or anything basically for that matter. So you want to handle these very delicately. Now that raises the question, will this break inside the track? Well, it's a possibility. Mine hasn't broke yet. Maybe it broke, in my video because one, there was nothing inside of the wheel, like this bolt right here. So when I put it inside that vise, it actually crushed it and it, it cracked in half. So that's a, possibility. This wheel is kind of nylon, so it feels like it's pretty strong. So I think it'll be all right. Now because that furniture nut is just a little long, I'm going to go ahead and cut this down just a tad. And you want to make sure that you measure accordingly to the thickness of your wheel after you had that sanded down. And then of course the bolt going in the opposite side with the arm, going through the arm of the actuator. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut this down to the length that I need it to. And again, this is I'm showing the furniture nut in this video, but I actually end up using one of my bolts and nuts from my roller blade just because it fit a little bit better and everything. So once you have that cut down, you just go ahead and file it just a little bit to smooth out any imperfections in it. So the next step is basically just put everything together and then use that Loctite. And like I said, the Loctite is basically so that the nut and the bolt don't separate from each other from vibration or anything else. And this is important because if you don't use a Loctite, it's just going to rattle loose and it's going to fall apart in your door, because again, you can't actually make these tight because you want the wheel to move back and forth. So just by tightening them up and then just backing out just a little bit so that wheel moves and spins freely, that Loctite will dry in the threads and actually remain right there, unless you just want to use some glue and just glue it all together. After that, as you can see, it moves back and forth. So other than that, we just need to put it back together, grease it up a little bit, and go from there. Okay, so if you have another one that you took out, I didn't show you this before, but you got these little tabs right here. That's pretty obvious how you get this wheel out, but just in case that you just wanted to know how much work you're in for, this is just something I'm just showing you real fast. Just got to bend these little tabs up, remove the old wheel that's broken off, and then this is of course how you get a new one in there. And then you just want to bend those tabs back down and slide the new one in there, and that's pretty much about it. It's pretty simple, this whole design, and again, this is only for the rear windows, is why it's this easy. Like the front windows are very, complicated. You definitely could do this, but you're gonna need some rivets and studs and some other hardware that might have to be actually perfect and not protruding out on either side, kind of like what I'm showing right here. You can actually see that nut on this side actually sticking out just a little bit. You couldn't have that on the front windows at all. It has to be actually just, perfect if you take it apart and look at it, or perhaps you just look at pictures. I'm going to go ahead and use some bearing grease I just had laying around to just grease this up. I suppose you're supposed to use white lithium. Didn't have any. This is going to work just as good. So I'm just going to get my grease gun, grease the sucker up, work it in there, and then put it back on. So hopefully you found this video, helpful. Like I said, this is just a little homebrew thing I just made up. This is definitely not the professional method how to do this. I'm sure you could improve upon this. There might actually be a better way out there that I don't even know about. But this is just something I saw at Home Depot, and I said, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and fix this. And then, you just get this done. And it's important to work that grease back and forth real fast. You want to go ahead and just make sure that's, all smoothed out and in there. You don't want it dripping anywhere, because of course you don't want any friction on that wheel and breaking or dry rotting out in the future. Maybe that's why I thought that the bearing grease would be a good idea for this. So after that, we just need to pop this sucker back in there and test it out. Okay, so once you get it back together, you can go ahead and test it out. And something I didn't show you, if you're going to go ahead and take this whole thing apart, you might actually want to go pull the motor off the actuator, take it all apart, look at the grease inside, clear out any debris. And again, I apologize, not something I showed in this video, but I went ahead and did that. I took apart the motor, cleaned it all out with electronic cleaner, a little WD-40, some scrub brushes or wire brushes, and then re-greased that. Now, later on, I actually did go back and put white lithium grease in there. Now that I actually think about it, and I used some of that red bearing grease on the other side. So right here, you can see that the window's back in there, and it is working. So congratulations, you just fixed your window. I appreciate you guys watching this, and hopefully found this helpful. And if, like I said, if you find a better way to do it, by all means, post those comments for everybody to look at and review. And appreciate you watching it once more. Thank you for watching.